Sound check. Sound check. All right. I think the sound is good. All right. Welcome, everybody, to Canhammer TV. This is Custodes Tactica, episode 45. Getting close to that 50 mark, which is pretty impressive, I guess. Certainly didn't expect it to blow up like this when I first started doing it. So welcome, everybody, and thanks for watching and thanks for supporting. So tonight's episode, we're going to talk about the year that was 2020, specifically for Custodes, for the Golden Boys. We won't spend too much time talking about that. We did go over our 2020 annual review just a few nights ago on the podcast, episode 196. So do check that out with Francois and Nick. And so a lot of that is repeat, and so we won't go over that again. But we'll just point out a few of the high and low points over the last year for our faction. And then we're going to spend the rest of the episode talking about how to start Custodes as a new player. It's a new year. Perhaps you're seeking a new army, and Custodes has become a little bit more in the public eye since we got our book, and we've been doing pretty well. So definitely there's a lot of people out there looking for information on how to start Custodes, even from things as simple as what models to buy and what books they need and things like that. So we're going to go over that tonight. And so mark it, episode 45 as a how to start in 9th edition for Custodes. So there we go. And hopefully people find that useful. It's definitely one of the more common questions I get asked is what should I buy next? What do I need? What's good? What's not good? So we'll go over that as well tonight. So first, 2020 in review. So without going into all the same things about COVID and stuff like that, we'll just do a quick rundown of what Custodes has been doing over the last year. So when the year started, of course, was heavy Iron Hands Marine meta, Broviathan meta, and that's certainly what it was going into LVO, which was early 2019. At that time, I did take my old favorite list to Charity Hammer for a couple of games against some great opponents. That list was, back then, it was 5 Bikes, 5 Aquilon, Shield Captain, Trajan, Vexilla, and then it was, I can't even remember what it was. Then it was 2 Blaze Caladius tanks, and Telemon, I think, at the time. I think that was my list. Can't even remember now. It seems like so long ago. But that was the list that I'd been playing for quite some time throughout all that meta. For maybe 6 months, I was playing that list. And that was when Bridger Han, of course, did fairly good. I think it came in 62nd or something at LVO out of 800 players, playing Storm Shield spam, basically all Guardians, all Storm Shields, just hanging on for dear life in the ITC format. And so that's basically where we were left off. We were left off with people just struggling to win games, struggling to survive in a very shooting-heavy meta with not a lot of our own firepower. And so it was a rough time. And then shortly after that, we had AdMech and Grey Knights dominating as COVID started to sweep in. We had lots of trouble dealing with things like double Paladin Hammer Grey Knights and all the psychic spams. And AdMech was so shooty and still are, and it's still a problem for us. So basically, and then COVID kind of shut everything down for a while, which gave us a bit of reprieve from our sufferings. And then, of course, our book came out along with Death Guard in the War of the Spider, Psychic Awakening. And even then, we had a lot of new stuff, and we won't do a book review or anything right now. But we had a lot of stuff to use, but no CP to use it with in the old 8th edition way of generating CP. So our book did not immediately help us, but obviously the book was tied in with the soon released after, maybe a couple months after that, was 9th edition. And so now, flush with CP, able to use all our newfound powers. And so Custodes took a sudden ramp up in power, in win rate, and in interest from people. We saw a lot of new players, and some good performances with Custodes since ninth edition. And of course, though, there's reports here and there. We've been doing a lot of coverage of what people have been playing. There's plenty of talk, but COVID has been a thing since before ninth, and it still is a thing. And so we don't really know our true potential. We have a great idea, and some players have really been pushing it when they've had the chance to play, but there has not been the widespread play that we had before COVID. And so maybe there's still a lot of things we've yet to suss out. And we may still have a lot of matchups and opponents that we have yet to meet. So, but I think we have a fairly good idea that we're fairly good at the moment. So, our new boogeymen is still Marines. Eradicators and things like that really kept us honest in terms of the Marine matchup. Necrons, of course, out there. Things like the Satans and all the other good things that Necrons have these days. Harlequins, Admechs, still hard matchups for us. Harlequins, especially with their new rules. Admechs still as shooty as ever. And now we've got Death Guard and Chaos coming back up to the fore, which have always been a tough matchup for us in terms of with psychic support and things like that. So it's a constant changing world of what we can do. And so that's basically a super fast summary of what happened over the last year. We started off right near the bottom, having to spam Storm Shields to survive in a heavy Marine meta. And then slowly, as our book and ninth came out, we've been reborn, and we have a nice playing faction right now. So that's kind of a quick summary of what happened last year. Half of it wasn't much at all, and then half of it was quite a lot of fun, actually. So we won't spend too much more time on that. Certainly, if you head on into the Discord, which is right there, there's the Custodes channel there, and there's always war stories being told in the Custodes channel, current and past war stories. So you can always find out lots of things from that Discord, and feel free to join. So, as a new player, and you're thinking about starting Custodes, well, welcome. It is, other than knights, and unless you're playing pure knights, you still have more models than us. We are probably the most elite army in the game. Our army's a number of models, typically anywhere from 15 to 20, 25 at the most. And so if you're looking for a elite army where you won't have to paint 200 models, then you have found it. So we are an elite army with expensive, not money, points wise, expensive yet fairly tough models that generally hit pretty hard shooting and combat. And I'm happy to say that we're a fairly flexible, pretty well internally balanced army right now. Our army can do many things, and it can take on many challenges and has tools for many situations, all wrapped up into this small number of models. Our guys are pretty tough, and so it's a super fun army to play right now. You have lots of tools to encounter different situations, and if you play well and play the mission, you can prevail even when it seems like things are going against you. And so that is the coolness of playing Custodes right now. And that certainly bears out if you follow our channel. So before we start talking about lots of other things, we're going to tell you where you can find resources. So first of all, you should buy the if you join the Discord, you will find in the pins at the top of the Custodes Collective channel, in the pins, you will find a pinned complete PDF with Codex, War of the Spider rules, all the Sisters of Science rules, Assassins rules, all up-to-date points, FAQs, everything. Everything you need to play Custodes is in there, okay? Is the PDF there. Our rules in the app are fairly decent if you wanted to look things up, but of course you need to buy things. If you want to buy a book, of course, buy War of the Spider. We don't know when our new book is coming out, so still worth buying Psychic Awakening, War of the Spider, and you will need the original Codex, Custodes Codex as well. And you will also need the new Forge World Imperial Armor Compendium if you're wanting to play some Forge World Custodes models which you might because a lot of our models are in there. We'll get to that in a second. So you could end up buying 3 books, or you could end up just going to the Discord and downloading the PDF that George has made for us, and that we thank him for. All right. So as I was saying, so it's like people ask me, what style of army is Custodes? Well, it used to be we were a fairly combat-oriented only army. But with Forge World options now, we can be quite a shooty army. Mostly from the Forge World side, we have a lot of shooting options. Sagittarium, Venatari, even the Terminators. Then we've got the Telemon, and all our tanks are there, the Ares. Most of our heavy shooting is from the Forge World side, and most of the, not most, but the Codex was not particularly heavy in the shooting side. And so then you ask me, well, what's this Forge World bit? So if you're really new to Warhammer, you might not realize. So Games Workshop produces a bunch of books and armies for 40K. And then there's this side business that they have called Forge World, where the only difference is that they make models made of resin, not plastic. Okay. And traditionally, Forge World has written rules for Warhammer 40K, although their initial focus, I guess, was Warhammer 30K. And so there's just rules to use those models in 40K, and they were crap. But more recently now, GW, with the release of the latest compendium book, started to write better rules for those models. And Custodes was really the first faction that they tried that out on. We did not have a lot of models in our range, and so they added rules for all our Forge World models into 40K as a beta of trying to change Forge World rules writing, which was notoriously bad before this. And it seemed to go well, and so now all the Forge World models that they want you to play with in 40K have GW written rules, and that goes for all the models in our range as well. So maybe half of our models are in the Codex GW models, plastic models, and half of our models are Forge World resin models in the compendium book. And hopefully at some point it gets consolidated, and it is in that PDF, but that's just the way it is for now. So can you play Custodes and not use any Forge World? Of course you can, and you'll probably do pretty well. The Forge World stuff, as I say, gives us a lot of shooting options and just a lot of other model options, and a lot of our flexibility comes from the Forge World side. So we will be talking about both tonight, but you can definitely play just GW plastic to start with, for sure. Okay. As I mentioned before, 9th edition obviously helped us big time. Our book helped us, but the book was written with 9th edition in mind. So you can't just take the book and 9th edition separately. Those two things come together. And so the combination of the two gave us lots of stratagems, mostly some extra rules, some datasheets changes, and some datasheet changes with the new compendium from Forge World. That is what our army is like now. And so you cannot take the 9th ed out of the Custodes faction. It just did not work, and it was written that way. And that's fine, because that's what we're playing. And so that's the other thing to mention. There's not even any point in talking about 8th edition anymore, because it's a completely new game, and we need the new game to mesh with our new rules. In terms of balance, we are very internally balanced. So you will find lots of discussions on the Discord channel about what's good, this or this, or this or this. And it used to be that it was very clear what was good and what was not. And those kind of discussions are much rarer now. Now is you can really make an argument for many, many units, and especially if the situations are slightly different. And that is a great place to be. I know it's frustrating for some people that they can't get told exactly what they need to buy, but at the end of the day, it's great that we have so many options to address different situations and different models to do different things. And so I think that that's actually where you want to aim for. You don't want something that's so obviously good that you don't buy anything else and you automatically run 3 of that. We don't have any of those really. And so it's a really nice place that our faction is in right now internally. In terms of balance against other factions, obviously there's going to be factions that are better and there's going to be factions that are worse. We are not at the top, but we're not at the bottom like we were. We are probably 3/4 of the way to the top, 3/4 to 80% of the way to the top, which is a nice place to be. You're going to beat armies and not lose all the time, and you can still beat the armies that are better than you if you play well. And that is a nice place to be. There's an amount of challenge, and then there's easy games, and so I think that's actually the best place to be. I don't know if I'd want to play an army where I put anything on the table, just steamrolls everybody. Like, that's kind of boring, right? That's not why I play 40K. So it's actually a very nice place to be for the faction right now. I'm not sure if the chat's broken, but usually some people have chatted by now, and I'm not seeing anything on the chat. Let me just reload it here and make sure that that's going okay. Okay, I just reloaded that, and okay. Oh, we have one person in chat right now. Are you talking about add Custodes? Sorry, I'm not sure what you mean by add Custodes. If you're going to clarify, call me Mako. All right. Let's talk about where you can find resources to learn about Custodes. Okay, well, if you're watching this, you found, I would argue, the largest resource for tactics, battle reports, and conversation via the Discord for Custodes on the internet. This was the mission of when I decided to do this, was to turn Custodes into our main faction. It is almost is exclusively what I play on the streams. All the battle reports that I stream are Custodes versus somebody else, and we have these Tactica episodes, and we get guests on, and the Discord is heavily Custodes focused. So yes, call me Mako. That's what we're doing, Custodes. So if you're watching this, you have found the resource you need to play Custodes. What you should do is follow our Twitch, follow our Facebook page, follow our YouTube channel, watch the battle reports. You can go all the way back and watch battle reports. We've got 6 months of 9th edition now, although there was COVID, so there's not as many battle reports, but still good to watch old battle reports. Tactica, going all the way back 45 episodes. The ones in the Custodes Tactica 9th edition are the ones since 9th started, so maybe they're the most relevant, but some of the tactical ones, not really the unit reviews, but the tactics ones from before into 8th are still valid. And of course, onwards now, we're about halfway through our unit deep dives and things like that. So this is the biggest resource on the internet for Custodes information. Okay, so if you have time, you want to just put it on while you're painting, put on all the shows in the past, and you'll be rapidly caught up. And then watching the live games, we probably stream the most Custodes games. There are other channels that show Custodes for sure, but they will not focus entirely on Custodes, and many of them are not particularly about competitive playing. So that's us for sure. All right. There's one person I want to shout out who's Protoculture on the Discord channel, and he has just started a YouTube channel called Custodes Central, and he's just uploaded 2 or 3. They're kind of like lecture format videos, maybe an hour long, where he just puts up PowerPoint, and he's spent a lot of time and effort making slides and doing statistics and things like that, and they're about tactics, macro tactics and micro tactics. His last one was about math and the math of Tanglefoot, which was super interesting and amazing. Job well done. So check out Protoculture's channel. It's called Custodes Central, and he's just got a few videos there, so hopefully he'll keep doing them. But that's a nice little adjunct to what we're doing over here as well. And the more people that do it, the better. So definitely you found the right place if you're watching this. Okay. So where should you start? I want to play Custodes. I got my books. What models should I buy? Okay. So this is my advice. So you have to remember where my advice is coming from. First of all, I've been playing Custodes since they came out. That's a few years now, and I'm a competitive player by nature. I don't really play Crusade or narrative or those kinds of things. I like to play competitively. I want a good game, and I want to either win or lose and learn something from it. So I And because I'm a collectionist and a completionist, I have almost every single Custodes model that they have. I think I probably do, at least one copy. And that's just how I am. You don't need to do that, okay? Just because you see all the shelves behind me of Custodes stuff, you don't need to do that. You'll find it surprisingly easy to do that with Custodes because you don't need a lot of models to play. But if you want it to get started, you don't need to go out and spend a ridiculous amount of money. In fact, it's probably the cheapest army to get started. You could probably spend like $400 or $500 on brand new merchandise and have a 2,000 point army right there and do pretty well with that. So that's the cool part about playing Custodes. So where should you start? Well, you should probably start to get the feel of the army and to see how it plays by buying GW plastic first before you delve into Forge World. The Forge World stuff is twice as much money as the equivalent type stuff in GW. It's literally twice. So, you'll pay $60 for a box of Terminators in GW plastic, and you'll pay $60 a model for like a Forge World biker. Like, it's just nowhere near equivalent to get 6 Aquilon Terminators. That's $200. So, if you want to start and not spend a ton of money until you really know what you want, then don't dabble in the Forge World to start with. If you can get a second hand, obviously that's a great way of getting it. So what do you need? Well, you should probably buy some troops, some HQs, and some other things. That's a great place to start any army, so it's no different from Custodes. So what do you need what HQs do you need? Oh my god. Okay, I just wrecked Trajan by dropping him, but the first person you should buy is my wrecked Trajan. So you should probably buy Trajan Valoris. Even if you don't use him, and we're not going to get into why you would and wouldn't use Trajan, he is an HQ. He's our named character. He's the boss. He's very good. And so buy Trajan. Now, you could buy the GW Trajan. You could buy this, which is Ixion Hale, Forge World character, which a lot of people just use as Trajan. You could buy the some people use Constantine Valoris Forge World model. Like, there's lots of conversion opportunities, but you could just buy the usual GW Trajan and get that as your HQ. Okay, the other HQ you need will be normal shield captains on foot and Terminator or non-Terminator versions, and you will get those when you buy the other boxes, okay? So Custodes was really designed that you buy a box of dudes, and one of those dudes can double up as a character or an HQ, which is really cool for flexibility, especially if you're good at magnetizing. So that's what I usually recommend to people do, magnetize their weapons and things like that, so you have that ultimate flexibility of doubling models as other models, okay? So the first thing you should do is buy Guardians, okay? So Guardians are the basic troops of the Custodes, okay? They come with these spears, or they come with shields and swords, okay? You can magnetize if you want to be super flexible. They come in boxes of 5, so you get 10 of them for 2 boxes. Should probably start with 2 boxes, because then you can run a battalion, 3 times 3 Guardians as a basic minimum, okay? And if you magnetize them all, you might not ever need to buy more than 2 boxes of Guardians ever. And then that's 9, and you have 1 Guardian left over, which again, you should magnetize all options, and you give him the Vexilla, okay? And there's 2 different Vexillas, this one and a slightly different looking one, but they almost kind of look the same. And so you can use whichever one you like, and now you have a Vexilla or another Guardian, okay? Or you might be able to run them with a captain, change the shoulder pads or something. I don't know. Nobody really cares what they look like. So that 10th model in that box, you can use as lots of things. So make him a Vexilla. So now you've got your another character here for not even buying a clan pack or anything. So Vexilla, you need a Vexilla, okay? And you can run this Vexilla as any of the Vexillas. There's no different models for it. You just tell it what it is. Okay. So now you've already got Trajan, you've got a battalion's worth of Guardians, and you've got a Vexilla. So what else do you need? Probably a good thing to buy next is a box of bikes, okay? So the next thing to buy is a box of Dawn Eagle jet bikes, okay? And you're going to get 3 in a box of Dawn Eagle jet bikes, okay? And again, Dawn Eagle jet bikes can be modeled with helms and no helms, and I just put a cape on this guy that I stole from Samael from the Dark Angels, and now he's a shield captain on bike. But you could just run him as a normal biker too. Almost nobody cares. So if you buy a box of bikes, now you have 3 bikes, but you also have a shield captain on bike as your character, which you can be flexible with. And so if I would suggest starting with 1 box of bikes, but if you really wanted to, you could buy 2 boxes of bikes. Now you have a unit of 5 bikes, which is kind of the standard size unit, and the 6th one can be used as a captain. So now by buying 2 Guardian boxes, Trajan, and 2 bike boxes, you now have like 2,000 point army, and like 10 models, and flexibility in there in terms of how you build it. So that's great. And that's not that much, and it's all plastic, and it's fine. Okay, that's probably a bit under 2,000. Probably you still have points for another unit of some kind. So what should you get next? Well, here's where the variety comes in that you can really go for. You could get more bikes. You could get more Guardians. You could get Terminators. So Terminators are a great unit right now. Alaris Terminators are the GW ones. These Terminators with these axes. You get a box. I think you get 3 in a box. So if you bought 1 or 2 boxes, now you got a unit of up to 6 Terminators. And of course, if you want to just run 5, you make one of them convertible, magnetized weapons to be a shield captain in Terminator armor. So again, that's flexibility and the way that the faction was designed from the box to be flexible like that. So 2 boxes of Alaris Terminators will do you good, and now you're definitely hitting 2,000 points, and that's all GW plastic. You could play that army forever. In terms of GW, the only other things that you might want to think about, and these are pretty cheap, and they're also cheap to throw in your army, you might think about Sisters. So Sisters of Silence comes in boxes of 5, I believe, or it might be 10. And they're just these little models, just like guardsman size. And this easy to add, cheap to add to your army, points and money-wise, and gives you some flexibility there in terms of objective holding and things like that. So don't forget those Sisters. You can add those. If you want rhinos for your Sisters, you just need to buy rhino kits, the normal rhino kit, and paint them gold. So they don't have their own special rhinos. And that's it for Sisters, really. I mean, you can buy Sisters with the different weapons, but really for now, I would just stick to the normal bolter girls. Okay, now we start getting into some of the options, and these are really options depending on how you want to play your army, and these are things that you can start experimenting with. So you like Terminators, but you want a little bit harder hitting, so now you start to delve into Forge World, okay? So now we're going to start to delve into the Forge World a little bit. That's most of what the Codex provides, those models we just talked about. If you want that extra flexibility, that extra shootiness, and different models, now you have to go into the Forge World range, okay? So in Forge World, we have these beefy boys. These are the Aquilon Terminators, okay? And these are Terminators like the Alaris, but they have fist weapons and various different shooting options. They also have this ridiculously large base. But, so this is another Terminator option. But whereas the Alaris Terminators would cost you $60-70 to get 6 guys, this is going to cost you $200 to get 6 guys. So it's quite the difference in price. But they play differently. There's a different Terminator option. Okay, so that's Aquilon Terminators. So you don't want to run Guardians as troops. Our other troop choice, of course, are the Sagittarium. And these guys are not as hard to kill as the Guardians, don't hit as hard in combat, but they are our shooty troop choice. And their shooting is definitely good. So these guys, again, coming in at twice the price of normal Guardians for these our Sagittarium troopers with the guns. Okay, so another Forge World option for troops. And perhaps one of the best units in our book right now is the Venatari. Okay, and these are basically jump pack infantry Custodes with little shields and pistols. They do come with spears as well. But and so these guys are really good right now because their shooting is good, they have decent combat, and they move fast. So if you wanted to add a fast, mobile, hard-hitting unit like the bikes, but you don't really like how the bikes play or the bikes are a bit too expensive, then you can go for the Venatari. Of course, again, the Venatari is like $180 for 6 of them. So, you know, you're paying for it. But these guys are kind of the hotness right now. And so if you were thinking of delving into Forge World and not sure what to start with first, can't go wrong with a couple of boxes of Venatari. They come in boxes of 3. So if you wanted to buy one Forge World thing that was going to help your army a lot, I would invest in Venatari first. All right. Okay, so due to the Forge World update, as well as some of the rules from 9th edition helping Dreadnoughts, our Dreadnoughts have a little bit of a renaissance. So we also have some of the coolest looking Dreadnoughts in the game. Of course, these are Forge World models, but man, these are beautiful Dreads. And so our 2 Dreadnoughts in Forge World are the Galatus Dreadnought, or the Galatus, and the Achilles, or the Achilles, or Achilles Dreadnought. And these guys are actually very good right now. And there are some lists, like John Lennon played today on Art of War, running multiple Dreadnoughts now because they're hitty, fairly hard to kill. Yeah, and actually, Forge World price-wise is not too bad. It's like $120. I mean, that's a lot for a Dreadnought. And you have to buy all the arms separate, which is a pain in the ass. But they're not too bad, and they're fairly good points-wise. They're almost like $1 a point, which is crazy. But yeah, so if you wanted to get some really cool-looking models that are good on the table now from the Forge World side of Custodes, you can't go wrong with the 2 Dreads. Okay, and then no discussion about Dreads could be complete without talking about the big girl herself, Big Bertha, the Telemon. All right, so the Telemon, of course, is another Forge World Dread. She's like a mini knight in terms of stats and size. Cost-wise, it's getting up there because you get the body and then you have to buy each of the arms separately. So it starts to add up if you want weapon options. But Telemon is one of our shooty and very punchy and very tough Dreadnought options, almost like a miniature knight for the faction. So if you wanted to get one Dreadnought to rule them all and only have one Dreadnought, I'd probably get the Telemon. And plus, it's freaking awesome looking. Okay, one unit I didn't mention in the Codex, the GW Plastic, is the Wardens. And the Wardens are kind of like Guardians with axes. And they have a feel no pain. They're just in a bad spot right now. And unless you really like the Guardian look with the pointy helmet and the togas as a substitute for Terminators or for Guardians or whatever, which is perfectly fine, and they come with a Vexilla as well. Also another source of right and left-handed axes for modeling. There's no reason to run actual Wardens right now. Hopefully that will change in the future, but I wouldn't buy Wardens to run as Wardens right now, but you could certainly use these models for other things, which is good. Okay, I'm going to talk about the Agamatis bikers, or what we like to call Dick Bikes. And these are basically Griffalcon 30K jet bikes from Forge World, and that's just another biker option. And right now, they're basically identical play-wise to the GW Plastic bikers, except they have different weapons. And so this is really, when you're starting to really dabble and get into Custodes, you might consider buying some of these. These are like $60 a bike, so they're quite expensive. So I would leave that till the end when you're really stuck into the faction. Okay, now we're going to start to talk vehicles other than Dreads. You've got a couple of choices. So we're going to be doing our deep dive on the vehicles next. That is coming up, so stay tuned. So maybe wait for that before you decide to buy any vehicles. The vehicles are not cheap. They're all Forge World, of course, and they're resin, and they're big chunks of resin. But if right now, probably the most popularly played vehicle is this little guy, the little Palace Gravitac, okay? And this is basically a little hover tank that kind of zooms around, shoots a few things, and mostly just kind of holds board space for you. And so this is, and it's fairly cheap. It's like 100 points. So it's very cheap for Custodes. It's probably one of our cheapest models, actually, points-wise. It's even cheaper than HQs. So it's finding a lot of play right now because it's kind of a throwaway unit, points-wise, that can do a lot for you. And so when people are investing in vehicles for Custodes, they'll often buy a couple or 3 of these Palace Gravitacs. Okay, so there you go. That's a nice first vehicle option. When you're looking to get vehicles that are a bit more shooty, now you're starting to get into the larger vehicles, of which the first one would be the Custodes tank, okay? And the Custodes tank obviously is going to cost more. The turrets are sold separately, and you can't buy the turrets are sold on the base, so you can't just buy the different turrets. You have to buy a whole tank, which is a pain in the ass, but that's the way it is. So if you want this gun, then you want another one. If you want a second turret option, you have to buy another tank, which is a pain in the butt, and that's very contrary to like the Dreadnoughts who have interchangeable arms. So it's a bit annoying, but there it is. So, and these are more your gunboat style vehicles that may serve a purpose right now, but unfortunately are kind of easy to kill in the Eradicator world that we live in right now. And so you don't see a lot of these right now because they're too easy to kill and still too many points for giving away such easy to kill. But the shooting is nice. Okay, I'm not going to bring them down, but when you're really looking to invest in Custodes, you've got the 2 Apex Predators at the top, price-wise. You've got the Ares gunship, and you have the Orion transport. And these are $500 models from Forge World. Huge, heavy resin kits. So even if you have it, you may find it very difficult to work with and to get together and big to paint, obviously. So these are not to be undertaken lightly from the hobby point of view, not just playing with them. And so certainly when you see people have 2 or 3 of these, they're gone off the deep end for sure. Even I haven't done that. But when if you're looking for Lord of War style models in the Custodes line, those are the 2 that we have. The Ares went through a bit of a limelight period recently, and some people are still playing it. It got a little bit nerfed with the updated rules, but there was a period of time where people were playing a lot of Ares gunships because it was put out a lot of firepower. So it still has that. But yeah, there's big models, big bucks we're talking when you get up to there. The other model that I won't bring down that's over there, you can just see it, is the Land Raider, which of course is just a normal Land Raider kit from GW that goes for all the Space Marine factions, and you just paint it gold to make it Custodes. And that's about it. I think I have every single Custodes model except for the Relic Contemptor GW plastic model, which is the ugliest model that they ever made, and is useless as well, and so I will not buy one of those. But that's basically the whole GW and Forge World Custodes line and what you should start with. So to summarize, if you want to play Custodes, watch the channel. Follow the channel, watch the Tactica, join the Discord, talk to people, okay? Get the little books, either buy the books or download the PDF on the pins in the Custodes Collective, and figure out what models you like and buy them and play them. That's probably a good way to start because all our models are decent. Definitely start with Trajan. Start with 2 boxes of Guardians. That gets you your Vexilla. And start with maybe 1 or 2 boxes of Terminators and 1 or 2 boxes of bikes. That gets you your other HQ as well as the bikes. And then you're basically done. If you wanted to add some sisters, you can add sisters. If you wanted to add some Forge World, the first thing I would probably add would be Venatari, and then maybe 1 or 2 of the Dreads and Aquilon Terminators, okay? And then after that, you can really dabbling then. You're looking at dig bikes, you're looking at vehicles. There's really dabbling stuff. But that's probably the kind of output you're looking at. And after all of that, you're probably still talking about $1,000 to $1,500, which is a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of buying a whole army, it's probably not that much, and that's overinflated due to Forge World prices. So that is what I would suggest for new players to Custodes. Start small, figure out what you like, play the faction, and then add the models and the units that you like. Either you like the look of, because they'll serve some purpose in your army, or that you want to play with. Okay? All right, I hope that's clear for everyone. Unfortunately, I dropped my trade in. He's in little bits here, but easily fixed. Okay. So I hope that's clear for everybody. It's a short episode of Tactica tonight. If you have further questions on where to go, just send me a message. Hit us up at Canhammer on Facebook. Send me a message personally on Facebook. Join the Discord and message me on Discord, or ask anybody in the Custodes Collective. I'll be more than happy to help you. It's a very helpful community there, and it grew from a group of people just wishing we were better and huddling, waiting for our chance. And then when we got our chance, we've just grown from there, and it's stayed very friendly. So do join that if you're a new player. And that's it for tonight. So join me tomorrow night. I'm welcoming back Colin Sherman from Best in Faction podcast onto our podcast tomorrow night to talk all about the Hammer Out charity virtual event coming up next weekend, which is replacing Charity Hammer this year. We will be featuring the second stream games on the Canhammer Twitch channel, so do look out for the schedule. I posted the schedule on our Facebook page, but you can also find it at charityhammer.com. So that's super exciting. I think I'll be commentating a game or two from next weekend, possibly Harrison's Custodes matchup, so that would be cool. And so tune in tomorrow night to hear all about that. Next week, we will be bringing you the next Tactica episode 46, which, as requested by some people, will be on the vehicles. So we're going to do a single episode on all the vehicles. Maybe we'll leave the two big guys out of it. I'll see how long it is, but we'll do it on the Palace and we'll do the Palace and the Caladius tank probably in one episode, and then we'll do the two flyers on a separate episode. So that will be the next episode of Unit Deep Dives, will be the two flying tanks. All right, cool. We have no questions in the chat and none in the Discord, so we'll take our leave early tonight. Wish everybody a Happy New Year. Stay safe, and we'll see you guys tomorrow night.